Rapid Math, Tricks and Tips by Edward Julius. This is trick number 9 in the Julius text. When multiplying by 25, we can divide by 4. Before we start talking about how to do the trick, let's think about why it makes sense. There are 25 cents in each quarter. 4 quarters is 1 whole. Let's think about money. 4 quarters is 1 whole. There is the relationship. Now let's think about that when we're working this trick. 44 times 25 is pretty hard to do in our heads. What we can do is divide 44 by 4. That's pretty easy to do in our heads because if we think 44 divided by 4 would be 4 divided by 4 is 1, 4 divided by 4 is 1. We can easily do that in our minds. Now let's think. 44 times 25, can that be 11? No, but if we use a test of reasonableness, let's start with 11 and add a 0 at the end. Now let's think about that. 44 times 25, can that be 110? Well, we can use numbers that are close to 44 and 25 to do the multiplication in our minds. Let's think. 44 sort of equals 40, and 25 sort of equals 20. So if we multiply these two numbers, we get 2 times 4 is 8, and we add the 2 zeros. So 40 times 20 is 800. So 44 times 25 needs to be a little bit bigger than 800. So we had to find a number, starting with 11, that is close to, actually a little bit larger than 800. Well, if we add another 0 at the end, now we have 1100, and that is a bit larger than 800, so that works. 44 times 25 is 1100, and if we want to check our calculators, we'll see that that's the case. Now, let's try the next one. 14 times 25. This one's a bit more difficult because we can't really do 14 divided by 4 in our minds. So what we could do, as we know, 4 is really 2 times 2. So if we divide by 2 and divide by 2 again, we will really have divided by 4. So let's do it. 14 divided by 2 is 7. And 7 divided by 2 again, that's kind of hard to do in our heads too. I know a lot of kids don't like to work with decimals, but think about it in money. If you have $7 shared with 2 friends, you're going to get a little over $3, right? Actually, to be exact, it's $3.50. All right. So we know that 14 divided by 4 is 350. Now that doesn't mean that that's the exact answer. You got to go up and check and see if it makes sense and see if we need to move that decimal somewhere. Because remember, adding zeros at the end or adding decimals, we do all that when we're doing multiples of 10. Okay, so 14 times 25, can that be $3.50? Well, really no, because if you're doing multiplying 2 big numbers, you're going to get an even bigger number. So let's think about this. If we move the decimal this way to the right, well, we have 14 times 25 is 35. That doesn't make sense. Let's move it again. 14 times 25 is 350. That makes sense. Now let's check it. 10 times 25 is 250. So would it make sense that 14 times 25 would be even larger than that? 350. Yes, that makes sense. Test of reasonableness.